awesome.
Yep, momentarily. Okay, hang on a moment, please. I think you are all set to go.
Thank you very much, Terry. This is a meeting of the Peaslee Building Committee. It is Tuesday, November 4th at 7 o'clock, and it is pitch black outside. Thank you, Daylight Savings Time. So it's 7:02, and I'll call this meeting to order, having a quorum. And our first agenda item is to review and approve the meeting minutes from our last meeting on October 7th. At this time, I would entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes as written and provided from October 7th. Is there any discussion? And hearing none. Kelly Gannett,
Yes.
Lauren is not here. Mike Tejan,
Yes.
Sean Durkin, Sean, you're here. I'm going to ask you to unmute and circle back.
Got it.
Oh, there you are. Sean, you say aye.
I say aye.
Robert Tomasetti.
Aye.
And Erica, I say yes. The motion carries. Next, we have an update from our owner's project manager. And I see a few blue screens, so we welcome you all and thank you for participating tonight. Welcome your update.
Thank you, Erica. So I don't know, Janice, if you want to put your camera on, just so for anyone who hasn't met the rest of the team, if you guys want to just introduce yourselves. Brian, do you want to start first? I'm sure most people know Brian, but.
Sure, yeah, I'm Brian DeFilippo, Senior Director, PMA Consultants.
Ian?
How's it going? Ian Sheridan, Assistant Project Manager, PMA Consultants.
And Janice.
Hi, everybody. My name is Jenna-Lise. I'm an assistant project manager with PMA. I can't turn on my camera right now, but it's nice to meet you all.
Thank you, Janice. All right, so the update that we wanted to give to the committee today is regarding the interviews that we had today. First, I wanted to start by saying thank you to Joni, Becky, and Jason for attending the interviews today. You guys did such a great job and had great questions to ask each of the firms. Just as a reminder, the three firms that did interview were Flansburgh, Marianne, and LaValle, all three of which did a great job presenting. And Becky, and as well as Jason, if you want to jump in and with any comments that you have about any of the interviews in specific. So ultimately, by the conclusion of the meeting, we had Flansburgh as the first choice, Marian Thompson came in second, and LaValle came in third. And we did also receive a letter from the MSBA, which now allows the town to move forward with fee negotiations with the selected firm. Becky or Jason, if you guys wanted to say anything regarding the interviews today.
I'll just say that it was really exciting to take part in those. It was really interesting to see the architects' presentations. I haven't been that involved with seeing a school plans and drawings of a potential school at the site, and I thought that was interesting. The MSBA process is very interesting. So as people here that are more experienced with MSBA projects may know, the MSBA panel was made up of 16 people, 3 of which were Joan Frank, myself, and Becky were the 3 district representatives. So the choice is really being driven by the MSBA, and I think we would have been fine with any one of the firms. They all had good presentations. I think we hired I think the one that got selected was probably the most experienced out of the 3 in terms of working with MSBA. So that was one thing that I was really looking for in terms of how I ranked them, in terms of looking at what the projects looked like compared to seeing what and imagining what it would look like moving this through the whole project, the whole process of getting a building project approved. So that was my take on it. I liked Flansburgh, and I mean, it's glad to see Becky, Joan, and myself ranked them all in the same order too when we did our rankings. So anyway, I'll let Becky talk about it too. Thanks.
No, I was going to say similar things to what you said, Jason, in that I think all 3 firms were highly qualified. And I think that we would have done well with any one of those firms. However, Flansburgh's presentation and their materials that they submitted, I think just really rose to the top of all the candidates. They seem like a firm that we could definitely work with. One thing that Joan did want me to share is the traffic consultant in her husband's prior role with the Turnpike Authority, I guess, has had dealings with that firm and speaks very highly of them, and so feels that we're in good hands with any traffic studies because of his experience. But overall, it was a very interesting process. There were 14 people in total who were voting, and there were 3 of us. The rest were made up of MSBA. So it was interesting to see how the votes came down and what some of the feelings were of the other board members.
Becky, I just wanted to add, I don't know if you guys realize this, but the engineer, the MEP engineer on the Flansburgh team is also on the firehouse. And so they already know a lot about the town, and they've worked with the town's facilities department. And I know you guys had asked questions about geotech as a potential technology. So they've worked through all of those tax credits with the town before, or thus far on the firehouse. So it's great that we have some continuity with those guys as well.
Yeah, it was interesting too to hear that the tax credits were still in effect for the geothermal too, because it was something that I did not think I thought it had gone by the wayside. So.
Yeah, and what was interesting too was that the education programming consultant was the same person for 2 of the firms. So if we ended up the consultant that would have been working for the architect doing the educational programming would have been the same, whichever one they picked. But yeah, that was interesting. I don't know how. Not much has been done in terms of applying for the Inflation Reduction Act credits, because that doesn't happen until it's put into place. So the concern is always that if we're going to rely on federal tax credits that might not be there by the time it's time to actually put them into service, then it's just certainty in terms of budgeting is where the heart of why we were asking about that so in depth.
Well, and I would assume that they would do what they did in the firehouse, and that would be just one small piece of a larger pros and cons when you're looking at all of those engineering options during design. But anyway, I think they've done a good job on the firehouse just in terms of their role as MEP. So I was happy to see them on that team.
Thank you. And just in PMA's court, we also discuss what the outcome was of the presentations, and we echo as well what Jason and Becky voted for Flansburgh as being the first, the Valley's second, and Marianne as third. We were texting the whole time. I'm like, oh, this is how we think it would work best for the town. But we're glad that ultimately by the end of the presentation, it seemed like we were all in sync, basically, without actually talking to one another, which was cool. So just next steps, we can talk through next steps now. It's just going and doing the fee negotiations and Becky, I don't know, or Greg, I don't know if you guys have any update on what your process is for the fee negotiations. We would like to be involved to help the town as well, but just if you can talk through what that process is going to mean for the town.
Yeah, so Karina, we can connect.
Okay.
So maybe Jason, Becky, Stephanie, and I, and you can meet,
Okay.
come up with a plan.
Okay, sounds good. We will do that. Thank you. And that's the only update that we have, Erica, for now.
Thank you. And for the minutes, can you just remind us of the next date, the deadline by which, do you have a deadline for contract negotiation from MSBA?
So the date that we put for contracts to be executed was November 18th. So we can hope to meet that date, but that's mostly on us and the town to get that completed by that date. I'm sure that if we need additional time, we can ask for it. But the next date is the November 18th that we said contract will be executed by.
Thank you. Thank you, Karina, Becky, Jason, Joan. I believe Diana watched from the bleachers, but thank you all for your huge investment of time today. Are there any questions for agenda item number 3, OPM update from members of the committee?
I have a question if you don't mind.
Sean?
Yeah, when when Karina references fee negotiation, how does that work? Is that typically a, a given number for a budget purpose, or is it based on the project, or is it percentage based? I really have no idea how they figure out these fees ahead of time.
Yeah.
Maybe she could give me some info.
Sorry about that. So the feasibility contract with the town includes what the cost would be for the designer services. And that's what we're hoping that we can get that contract to, but it's going back and forth with the designer when during the negotiations to make sure that we come right around what that number is.
What is that number based on? Just past practices?
Let me take a look at it's the MSBA just basically puts a fee. Let me try to find the contract for feasibility in my folder. Hold on a second. I can give you guys what that number is. Usually what we have, and just to, while I keep looking, what we have is by the full amount of the cost for the designer would be approximately the 10 to 12%, and that's what their contract usually is, and we're trying to make sure that we stay within that. But for feasibility, it's a set number that's given by the MSBA based on a contract that the town has with the MSBA. And that number right now that we have.
So Karina, are you looking for the budget number that we submitted?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so I have it here. So the feasibility that the town had voted was for 900,000, and I think we had budgeted 590 for the designer.
And then, so as part of the designer, the environmental and site testing would be under their contract, so you would also include that 75.
Okay, the 75, okay, yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Does that answer your question, Sean?
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
Any other questions on agenda item 3? Hearing none, thanks again for the update, and thank you to everyone who participated today on behalf of our town. Agenda item 4 has to do with reviewing and approving invoices. I would remind this body that you elected to designate an individual to kind of pre-look at invoices before they come in to this committee for committee approval. It's my understanding, are there invoices at this time, Karina?
No, so unfortunately, our invoices, the way that PMA basically does their invoices is twice a month, and usually it closes on the 5th of each month. And today being the 4th, we're not, it's before the time where it closes on our end. So that's why we asked Erica if we can, starting in January, move the meeting to the third week of the month, because it allows us to do reviews of invoices, and gives us that time frame of being able to receive invoices, review with the committee, so on and so forth.
Yeah, so we can talk later, or we could just take a pause now for logistics. At some point tonight, I am interested in the committee's feedback on shifting meetings in 2026 to the third week of the month. And I would just kind of entertain feedback. I mean, we have 8 other voting members on this committee and important ex officio members we want to consider, and it's a big group. But I am hoping to hold roughly monthly meetings to keep us in a good rhythm. So like if anybody had a conflict, say every third Tuesday and was unavailable, I would consider that now.
Erica,
Yes.
Stephanie and I may have some conflicts on Tuesday because that's typically when our financial boards and committees want to start meeting. And we have a number of meetings that are mapped out for the next couple months over frequent Tuesdays.
Yes.
So that's just now that we're in the heart of our budget season.
Well, I'll reach out to you to identify some, if there's any standing times left that we can accommodate.
Okay. Sounds good.
Thank you.
I would just note that the third week,
Yes.
there's going to be February break and April break fall on the third week of the month, just for notes for those 2 months. But
Yep. Karina, could a 4th week, end of the month be?
That works as well. That's what I was just gonna say. That works as well. It'll actually also work for once construction starts, because usually the review period for requisitions is by like the 12th, 14th of each month. So it'll allow that process to even go through construction, so that we're not changing meetings depending on the phase. So whether it's the 3rd or the 4th week of the month, either one of those work.
Okay. And generally for the group, Jason, based on your feedback, is Tuesday kind of out every single week?
Well, there's exceptions. There will be
Yeah.
exceptions.
Yeah.
So, right now I've meetings on the 18th, December 9th, the 16th, November 25th as well. So I think November 18th was the 3rd of November.
But for next year in 2026.
Oh, 2026. Okay. No, no, we haven't scheduled anything that far ahead.
Okay.
So
we could maybe
if we get the third
Yep.
days, then maybe we can arrange the other committee meetings around those.
That would be lovely.
Sounds like we just scheduled them. Yeah.
Yep. All right. Thank you for that feedback. Any other questions on agenda item number 4, review and approve invoices? All right. Hearing none. Agenda item 5 is a communications subcommittee update. That subcommittee has not met yet. They'll kick off shortly, and by our next meeting should have something to report back on. Agenda item 6 is new business. We already discussed our scheduling for next year. Between now and next year, we do have our December meeting, which will remain on December 2nd because we've carved out that time, and I'm afraid if we try to reschedule now, we'll lose it. Is there any other new business for the committee or from the committee members at this time? Mike.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Just one minor thing that had come up at our select board meeting last night. The town is looking to make hopefully some progress on a sidewalk, additional sidewalk for Maple Street that current Peaslee sits on. We do have design for that sidewalk. My look of the design, it would not interfere with looks like anything that would we be doing, whether renovation or otherwise, to possibly with the Peaslee building and property. As far as timeframes, even if we were to apply for this grant to probably get it done, award to the grant wouldn't occur till 27. And then construction would have to be completed within 2 years from there. But that's just from my eye looking at it. I didn't know if it would be appropriate to maybe send that plan along to maybe Keith Lavoy, to Karina, just so that, yes, officially any progress the town would make, maybe in conjunction with the school department on a Maple Street sidewalk, would be well outside of the area that we would work on with a possibly Peaslee renovation or building.
Yeah, like that would be a great idea because we'll make sure that the designer gets those plans and make sure that they coordinate around whatever
Perfect.
that project is. Thank you so much for bringing that up.
Sure. Yep. All right. I'll forward that over to yourself. And then I didn't know if anybody else wanted to take a peek at them. Keith, if you thought that was useful for you to see too.
Yes, Mike, I think it would. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Is there any other new business from members of the committee?
Can I bring something up, Erica, or just the committee?
Yes.
Okay. So we did want to discuss having a representative from the town join all of our not building committee meetings, but the design meetings with the designer, just so that it has to be someone who can make decisions for the town during these meetings if something comes up where a decision needs to be made, as well as, and Brian, feel free to jump in. They need to also know who the contacts should be in town, depending on what comes up that we can reach out to. And basically it's just when we meet with the designer, just someone from the town, usually a facilities person is a good choice. And Brad, I don't know if you want to jump in on that as well.
Yeah, we've had good experience with like an assistant superintendent or facility director. Those are kind of where the rubber meets the road. Facility director normally kind of knows the town and what you'd like to specify for equipment, what best practices are, and then also someone with the superintendent's office has that kind of mantra for kind of the educational plan and programming and that sort of thing.
So
Karina,
Greg and
can you
I,
give us some examples of decisions that would be made?
Like, for example, during programming meetings and something comes up regarding the HVAC systems and what you guys are looking for in specific, or just those type of decisions that need to be made by the town. We need to make sure that someone's there in those meetings.
So are you talking about more like operational decisions or design decisions that are, I mean, if you're talking about educational programming, are you talking about aesthetic decisions?
Aesthetics as well, just any decisions in general during design, because we will be meeting with the design team and they're going to have questions and we need to make sure that someone from the town can answer those questions. The only other thing is that we can just, those questions that come up is share with someone from the town and they can point us in the direction as to who can answer the questions.
Aren't those types of things have to be decided by the whole committee, or no? You're saying we have to appoint somebody. I would think that
That's
all
what we
those
did on
types
the
of things.
firehouse.
Yeah,
Like they
we-
would come do design presentations with
Yeah.
options on windows, on materials, on plan layouts, all of that. I mean, they would work through a lot of nitty gritty with like the fire chief on, certain things, but the committee was there to make those decisions.
Yeah,
or
I think
maybe
that-
Karina, are you talking about existing systems that we have? For instance, if we kept the existing Peaslee school and added on to it, or? I mean, I guess we could just take it as it comes. Whatever questions need to be answered, we know who
I
can
mean,
answer them.
my thought is I'd be uncomfortable, obviously we want to participate in those the designer meetings. At the minimum, would be a subcommittee, kind of helping you navigate those. But I think it's really incumbent upon the committee to make some of those decisions. The school department obviously can provide guidance and input, but I think in our latest experience with NERI, those were all made by the building committee.
Okay.
What frequency, what was the thought about, you're talking about meeting with a design team? Is that like a monthly or weekly? What is the frequency of those?
I mean, at the beginning, it'll probably be monthly, but eventually it's gonna be a more reoccurring meeting where we're meeting with them. Possibly like even on a weekly basis or bi-weekly to go over design and that.
Erica, I would recommend trying to establish a design subcommittee, at least that gives, the ex officios and the committee a seat at the table.
I mean, I think we've established that getting our whole big group together is, it takes us a while to interlace our schedules, but maybe having a smaller team who could meet more, because you're talking about a frequency that really ramps up to maybe even every couple of weeks.
Yeah, and that's the concern on our end as well, is that if we can only get decisions once a month and the designer needs decisions made as soon as possible, that might put a hold on the project. It'll make it move a lot slower also.
Well, we could talk about doing some kind of a subcommittee that's a smaller subset of this group who can be more agile and report back to the full committee. And if that's the case, we can kind of make a decision of who would be our ex officio members who should sit in, to your point, a member of superintendent's office and someone who can speak on behalf of the town.
I would also suggest that if there are larger, like when we get to larger decisions, that those go to the whole committee. When you have multiple options, when you're looking at the enrollment decision, things like that, I would like the subcommittee could make a recommendation, but I still think those larger decisions need to go, like if you're looking at the siting of, 3 different options and how that's going to impact traffic in town, I think people on the full committee are going to want to hear those discussions.
Okay.
But I think the subcommittee could determine like, hey, this is something that should go to the full committee. And those are not going to be every other week.
Right.
But those are going to be milestone decisions. Rob, sorry. You were
No worries. Thank you, Diana. I think it would also be very helpful to have an understanding of the design team's schedule as far as when deliverables, like when decisions are expected to be made. Like it's going to take us through programming, through building massing, if it's a new build, through HVAC systems, all of your MEPs, all of the different finish selections. Just what is the time commitment? What's the path forward? When do we need to make decisions by? Because the last thing anybody here wants to do is impact the timeline to get to construction.
Mike, yes.
I was just going to ask, well, one, I agree with what Diana and what Rob said. But also I would think also at the outset, right, the questions the designer would have would probably be some set of standardization to it, or sort of standard questions that we could get beforehand and take on as a group, to at least maybe get discussion at least on some of the bigger ticket items or things like HVAC and whatnot, to have that total group discussion and then pass that down. I would think they would sort of know these things, or would it sort of come up that it would be more on the fly and you would have to have these select group of people available for weekly or bi-weekly meetings?
I don't think the designer is going to have to be meeting with people to get this input every week all the time. If not, then they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah,
but things like educational programming, for instance, I think that's something that the design team can do directly with the district, like with the district office. Like I don't think that has to be a full building committee or even subcommittee thing, because that's really up to, you know, the educators, in my opinion.
Karina?
Yeah, no, I agree with Diana. So we'll make sure to work with Becky or Greg to let us know who the people is that need to attend those programming meetings.
Okay, and we can talk to, I mean, I would be interested in feedback. There was some discussion of a subcommittee who would be specifically focused on design and may be asked to meet every couple of weeks when the process ramps up. I would entertain feedback if anybody sort of heard that and would be willing to volunteer and serve on a subcommittee of that nature. So then we can go plan. Yes, Kelly?
So I just have I know you reached out to me about a subcommittee, and it would be helpful for me to know, like, what are all of the different subcommittees we need, and before it's committing to one or another. I feel like it just seems like they just keep popping up random, you know what I mean? Versus having like a full plan and knowing exactly what it is. So it's like, it's hard for me to say, yes, I want to do design, but it's like, yes, I want to do community, but it's like, I only have so many hours in a day and a week, you know, and then also it's, you know, when is everything gonna fall? So what other subcommittee type things are we envisioning needing? One for communication, one
Design.
for design, like what are the other ones that
And
we
then I
need?
think a common subcommittee would be a finance subcommittee. We have not at this time, a subcommittee hasn't been created, but this group identified some individuals to kind of preview invoices. So at this point, it would be the only subcommittee that's been discussed so far is comms, and then if we do a potential design subcommittee. Any other input or folks who'd be interested if Karina talks offline about doing a subcommittee for design, anybody who would have interest in finding out more?
I'd be interested, but I would really feel much more comfortable to involve more members of the group, not less. I mean, there could be, I mean, some of the proposals had moved the whole school location, which I thought was pretty interesting, but I wouldn't make that decision as a subcommittee member.
Exactly.
So-
That's exactly the kind of decision I think that would be.
But that would be the whole committee. So
Yeah, yeah.
I think the purpose of a subcommittee would be to do the frequency of meetings, then to report back to the larger committee to make decisions. So
Make it more streamlined.
yeah, I mean, it makes, it provides some agility to again, you're not convening the entire committee, you're convening a smaller group to do the homework, the research, ask questions, and then come back to the committee, report out, get input and feedback, and the committee makes the decisions.
Yeah.
I also think it's worth having a discussion with the designer.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Would you guys prefer if we wait till we have a designer on board and then maybe give it a couple of months and then we bring this conversation back just based on what we're seeing that their needs are?
Yeah, I
And
think,
That sounds good.
yeah.
Okay.
And I think for the purpose of the minutes, I did see a few hands of folks who may be interested if and when such a group is created. And I just want to make sure they're recorded. So I saw Sean, Rob, and Diana. Yeah. All right. Thank you, Karina.
You're welcome.
Is there any other feedback or items of new business from members of the committee? Hearing, oh yes, Mike.
I was just going to say, sorry, I would think I was muted. Yeah, you could include me in interest in the design piece. I don't want
Thank
to
you.
spread myself too thin, but
There's a lot of busy people. So I'm looking at a lot of faces of people who are heavily committed. So thank you. It's an impressive group. Hearing hearing no further business, I would now open up the meeting for public comment. At this time, I am looking at our room of participants for any raised hands. And seeing and hearing none, we'll move to our agenda item 8, which is adjourn. I'll take a vote. I'll take a motion.
So moved.
second.
Been moved and seconded to adjourn this meeting of the Peaslee Building Committee. If there's no further discussion, we'll take a vote starting with Kelly,
Yes.
Mike,
Aye.
Sean Durkin,
Yes.
Diana,
Yes.
Robert,
Aye.
and Erica says yes. The motion to adjourn carries. We'll adjourn at 7:37. Thanks, everyone. See you next month.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.